Hello, friends. My name is Brian. My friends call me BG, and this is BG by the Beach. Friday, November 21st, marked 4 years since Morgan died. Morgan got me this book for Christmas 2020. When she gave it to me, she said, I know you like to write. You can use it as a journal or for brainstorming or anything, but you get to write. And write I did. One line a day, almost every day, for 4 years. January 1st, 2021. Lazy New Year's Day on the couch with Morgan. We watched 4 movies and hardly moved. Exactly what we needed. Who could have imagined what the final 4 years of this book would turn out to be? It's a fascinating look at a scary descent into depression and grief, healing and recovery, growth and yearning for understanding in life. What a gift this book ended up being. I spent the holidays that year, Christmas 2020, with my family, as usual. But the plan was Morgan was going to drive up from Charleston a couple days after Christmas, and she was going to meet my family for the first time. We'd stay for a couple days, hang out with my family, and then I'd drive back to Charleston with her and stay indefinitely. I wasn't nervous to meet my family, really. I don't know if she got nervous in that way. She was kind of a natural performer and loved being the center of attention, loved that and the energy of being on. But she did want to make a good impression. She wanted to make a good impression. I went out to the car to meet her when she got there. We walked in together and she gave everyone a big hug. And my dad looked at her and said, "Your hair is Jets green. This will work. Thanks for the approval pop." February 7th, 2021. 3-month anniversary. A genuine joy to be here. Morgan completes me in a way I haven't felt in a long time. Maybe, probably, ever. Morgan was ready to impress. She had all the ingredients to make this amazing Filipino dish called pancit. Look it up. It's incredible. My dad gets up really early for work, and we were getting a late start on dinner that night. It was already close to 7 p.m., and no progress had yet been made. And it didn't help that Morgan had a casual relationship with the way time worked. Cooking with her was always an experience. She was so talented, just naturally gifted at it. She could taste a dish and tell you exactly what was missing as it was cooking. Everything she made was always incredible, but man, it took 2 to 3 times longer to make than it should. I'll never understand how that happened. Whenever she wanted to cook, it felt like we wouldn't eat until 11 p.m. or midnight. I mean, it was worth it, but it always took forever. And that night was no different. She buzzed around the kitchen. I was her sous chef. And she just bounced around and talked to everybody and was telling stories. I think most of all, she just loved feeling welcome and included. And I tried to tell her before we got there, part of being included means my dad's going to give you a hard time. It's just safe to assume if he's talking to you, he's working a bit, especially at first. Finally, around 9 p.m., he calls into the kitchen. "Morgan, I got to get up for work soon. What's going on?" I think that was her I'm in moment. And dinner was amazing. November 7th, 2021. Happy 1 year to us. Dinner last night at Revival was amazing. Tuna steak, lobster pierloo, oysters, incredible. She loved her card, and she's so excited to see Tom Segura in May. One time on a random weekend, she went to the store, and I stayed at the apartment just to straighten up and do some laundry and just kind of, around the house chores. I heard her come in. You could always hear her come in when she was talking on the phone. And I was just back in the bedroom folding laundry. I figured she'd come back when she hung up, whatever. It must have been 15 or 20 minutes later, though. She calls back to me. "Hey, Bri, do you want to come talk to your mom?" What? You're talking to my mom? Why didn't you tell me you were on the phone with my mom? When did you even get her number? She just liked to feel like she was part of the family. November 21st, 2021. And today you never woke up. I don't know how to do this without you. I miss you so fucking much. until our last days. Forever yours. I'm so fucking in love with you. 4 years. Some of it I remember like it happened just a few hours ago. Some of it is lost in the fog of that traumatic day. But this is how I do it. I write about her, I talk about her, and then other people share their stories. Or they meet her for the first time. And by doing that, we can feel close to her again. It's funny because I can almost physically feel the need to write. An idea starts circling in my mind. Like, the best analogy is like, the radar of a storm as it's pulling together, trying to rotate. I don't know what the idea is going to be. It's just, I can feel it swirling around, trying to pull together into a coherent thought. The last couple of years go back and forth about, should I write at all? What should I write? At what point does it cease to be remembrance while becoming like fetishizing the worst day of my life, of so many of our lives? I think the fact that I'm thinking about that and aware of that means that's probably not what it is, but it's something I think about. But on the other hand, whenever I do something like this, when I write about her or talk about her, it creates a little mini community, and people start sharing their own stories about her or their own experiences with loss and grief. We keep her alive as long as we remember her and talk about her and introduce her to people who didn't know her before. But also, you need to know this is part of it. We laugh, we have good days, we feel joy, but closure is a myth. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as closure. There's only learning to live with it. Everybody who knew and loved Morgan has been living in a different universe for the last 4 years. And it doesn't matter what we do to tidy up this one, it will never look like the one we left. And so we learn to live with it. But live we must. In January 2022, barely 2 months after Morgan had passed, my friend Jay sent me an episode of a Radiolab podcast. They were discussing an exchange that they'd heard on yet another podcast called The Relentless Picnic. On The Relentless Picnic, the hosts had one of their friends on, a guy named Matt, to talk about his experience with his fiancé passing suddenly on the day of her bridal shower. I remember listening to it and being blown away because Matt was describing so perfectly everything I was feeling at the time in that cloud of shock. I listen to it every so often just because it's a nice window into progress and growth. This is something he said. I'm pretty independent. I don't like asking for help, so this whole process has been really fucked up because everyone is babysitting me. I remember that. People keep telling me, take care of yourself. She'd want you to be happy. And maybe someday I'll get there, but right now I'm just so angry about everything I get to experience. It's so unfair. Check. The tinge of bitterness in his voice was just so familiar. I was so angry then. So angry. I'm still angry, but time. Matt ended up reaching out to somebody named George Saunders, the author of a book called Lincoln in the Bardo, which he was reading at the time, and I've also since read. Saunders responded, and one of the things Matt really appreciated was that he didn't just tell him everything was going to be okay. He didn't just say everything's going to get better. He made Matt feel like everything he was feeling was okay. He was, in fact, not crazy. It really does feel like that. There's this a societal pressure to push away negative emotions. That's not helpful. You have to feel it. Also, emotions aren't inherently positive or negative. They're just emotions, all equally valid. And you have to feel them and process them properly. One of the things Saunders said in his response, grief is a form of praise. You're praising the wonder of the person you lost. The great pain you are feeling means great love. I'm as okay as I'll ever be. This was the first year I wasn't hyper aware of the clock. For the last 3 years, I've been laser focused on 11:34 a.m., which is the time Morgan's dad messaged me to tell me to call him. This year, I didn't even notice I didn't notice it until several hours later. The best analogy for grief I've ever heard is to imagine your life as a box. Inside this box, your grief is represented by a ball. Ball is bouncing around. On the wall of the box, there's a button. When the button is pressed, it causes incredible pain. At the start of your process, the grief ball is basically the size of the box. It can't move without pressing the button. The button gets pressed constantly. As time goes on, however you want to look at it, either the ball shrinks or maybe the box gets bigger, but the ball never ever disappears. It may have more space to bounce freely around the box, but no matter how small the ball gets or how big the box gets, as it bounces around, it can still hit the button. And no matter when the button is pressed, whether it's the day after, years later, decades later, pain is the same. The milestone days, like the anniversary, her birthday, a few other days, those are the days where I'm at least aware of the button, even if the button's not getting pressed. Yesterday, I woke up and felt relieved that the day had passed. Once again, I'm left with her stories. And it was a gift beyond words to share her life for the time we had. So I guess all that's really left to do is to share our stories and keep it going for as long as we can, right? Please don't stop sharing your stories. Who did you lose? What did that person mean to you? Keep them alive. In Matt's correspondence with George Saunders, Saunders eventually said, "I'm 58. It feels like no time at all has passed since I was your age. Soon you will be here. I wonder if it helps to ask yourself, what am I going to do with that very short time I will have before I see my loved one again? The more you do, the more you love, the more lives you touch, the better. You are here for both of you now." And that has made all the difference. This could all go away tomorrow. What are you waiting for? What are you afraid of? First we show up, then we see what happens. Thank you for listening.